What's up? Welcome back to Wonderneath Weekly, where I share what I'm wondering about each week and a bunch of other things, what I'm reading, what I'm listening to, kind of just what's on my radar, honestly, each week. And I got some crazy stuff for you today, so buckle up, baby. And I already know I'm gonna seem like a freaking crazy person, so let's go right into it and just get it over with here. Okay, first thing I'm wondering about. What is the CCRU Numagram? Okay, just for reference, real quick, we'll look at it. This is it. This is the Numagram. I was listening to Tucker Carlson podcast. This dude is talking about the occult.
I remember the first time somebody.
So this guy. Oh, you can't see him because I'm in the way. Oops. Let's get him on the front of the screen here. This guy, I don't even know his name. It's not in the title. Anyways, talking about the occult and the Kabbalah and a bunch of, it's like how it's in Hollywood and all these different things. But he keeps bringing up this Numagram. And he brings up this guy, Nick Land, who made this Numagram. And so I was kind of curious about this. I'm like, okay, what is this freaking thing? So I'll read you this and I'll kind of talk about what I was learning. But the CCRU Numagram is also called the Decimal Labyrinth. It is a numerical and occult diagram developed by the Cybernetic Culture Research Unit, a radical theory collective most active in the 1990s in England. The Numagram consists of 10 zones numbered 0 through 9, which are interconnected and paired into 5 syzygies, which are zone pairs that add up to 9. And it functions less as a symbol and more as a cybernetic feedback system or operational chart, often described using language borrowed from the occult, cybernetics, and speculative fiction. So it's really weird and complicated, honestly. And I was trying to learn about it, and it's like these, if you look at these arrows, like here, right? Each one of these arrows, like the 2 balls, basically add up to 9 in each one of them. And there's all these other weird ways the numbers are interconnected. And I'll be honest with you, it's super freaking confusing and I basically don't understand. But the more I was looking into it, it's a freaking thing, right? And it's partially based on this like inverted tree of knowledge diagram that's an ancient diagram. And it's like this numerology stuff and it's all this occult and like there's these weird demon things called lemurs, but it's not like the animal, it's like Lemurian demons or something. And they have to do with these different connections of numbers and portals and like, so it's a whole freaking thing. And I know it's insane, but it's freaking crazy because how do I tie this all together? This dude is talking about the end times and AI and how a lot of people have said like AI is the Antichrist or AI is this whatever, but he kind of makes this point that we're summoning demons in that they're going to be this super powerful entities that we're creating, right? That are going to be very powerful and do a bunch of stuff. And he also talks about the mark of the beast. And I know this is crazy and I'm all over the place, but it's all this like interconnecting thing, but talks about the mark of the beast and how crypto will be involved with that because one of the main attributes of the mark of the beast, which is something else I was wondering, which is my next thing, which is that you will not be able to buy or not be able to engage in commerce unless you have the mark of the beast. And he's talking about how cryptocurrency basically enables this easier because everything's like on chain and like verifiable and like solid in a way that cash and like, you know, our modern banking system isn't as much. And there's all this talk and buzz online about the end times in general. I think because of the rise in AI, because of crypto, and there's kind of all these things accumulating. And then, so I'm seeing all this stuff and then I see this freaking Numagram thing and it's so weird, dude. It's like, if you go on YouTube and start typing in what is a Numagram and like how does it work and like what is it used for and like all this, it's like a freaking giant rabbit hole of this weird numerology symbolism and it's like how the digital connection of these end times properties and how prophecies and how all these things interconnect. And it's just weird. And part of me is like, okay, is this just my algorithm or is there actually this like growing kind of end times thing? Because, you know, I've heard this my whole life. It's freaking end times, blah, blah, blah. But then you also now start getting into freaking Israel and everything that's happening over there, which I'm reading the Old Testament right now, which is crazy because it's like this obsession with Israel and like all the conflicts and all these prophecies about Israel. And now you look in the news and everything's about Israel, and it's like a weird parallel. Um, but it is true that way, way more people are becoming religious. There's a giant boon in the church and among people joining the church and coming to Jesus. And there's all kinds of like, I just saw freaking Bear Grylls video, and it's like Bear Grylls, how this adventure brought me to Jesus, and like everything is freaking like stewing religiously. It's crazy. And then I start to see this kind of thing and all the parallels, and I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just saying something is happening. It's just weird. And I look at this freaking rabbit hole of this Numagram thing, and I don't know if it's a satanic thing exactly, but it's like, it has to do with demons. And it's just weird. And I'm like, what is this? And it's like a thing. It's like there's all these people explaining it and talking about it, and like you can watch interviews of the dude who made it, who's this freaking crazy guy named Nick Land. And it just goes deep and it's crazy, and I'm just going, what's happening here? And dude, who knows? Could be nothing. Could be freaking nothing, and AI is gonna just be fine and there's no problem. It's not the end times. Who freaking knows? But it is getting a little weird. And then add on top of that, the new ChatGPT Sora app just came out. And if you haven't seen it, it's like TikTok, but it's all fake AI videos. And you upload your face and it can just make videos with your face. And you can use other people's faces or other people's likeness if they approve. And then you could just say what TikTok or what video you want it to make. And it makes a video of you and them and talking or whatever you want it to be. And it's insanely realistic. It's probably the most realistic AI video yet. And it's just crazy. And I'm like, what is happening? I'm like on this fake digital TikTok. It's just scrolling like TikTok, but every video is completely AI generated fake of people I know. Like I see my brother on there. I'm like, he sent me the invite, and I'm like watching videos of him doing shit and talking to people. Then it's not real. And I'm like, this is freaking crazy. So it's all just getting weird, and I don't know what it is, and I don't know about the end times that much, but I know I'm gonna get more into it, so stay tuned because I'm reading the Bible, and obviously I know a lot of that's in the New Testament, not just in Revelation, but in I think John and Mark. There's some end times prophecies and stuff, so that's kind of the first thing, and that's getting weird. So look into that if you want. Just click the link in my in the description. You can go to my post and click through any of these research things or videos if you want to look into it. And if you know anything about it, let me know because it's freaking weird. It just kind of freaks me out. Okay, let's go to the next one though. This is really interesting. Man, I'm learning so much about history. FDR had 3 terms as U.S. president. Because they say Donald Trump's going to get more terms. FDR served 4 terms as president of the United States, making him the only president in U.S. history to serve more than 2 terms. So he was kind of running it through World War II, basically, which is why I learned about him, because I'm listening to that World War II podcast. But so breaking previous tradition started by George Washington of no president serving more than 2 terms. So here's the thing about that, which is interesting, which I don't know if you knew this. I didn't know this. That was just tradition. 2 terms was tradition. And then after FDR, they made it a rule, 22nd Amendment in 1951, which limits all future presidents to 2 terms. But yeah, dude ripped 4 terms. And so you think that we've been doing 2 terms the whole time, which we kind of have, but a lot of presidents served more than that, which makes like a 3-term Trump presidency not seem so bananas. And I honestly think there is something to the 2 terms situation, which is good and makes sense, but also I think it's like part of the reason why China is gaining such an advantage on us in some other places, where if they have a leader in office, it allows them to think a lot more long term and like implement longer term strategies rather than like, because like now it seems like every time a new president gets in, he just shits on everything the last president did, wipes it, and then kind of does his own thing, and it swings back and forth. It doesn't allow for like long term progression in certain fields and areas. So I didn't know that though. FDR. So he was in a wheelchair and he died in office. He freaking died in office during the war. So learning new things. Who knew that? Not me. You're welcome. Okay, next thing. What is the going rate for a hooker in the United States? I was wondering this because I did a music day with this chick here, and we were talking about Thai freelancers and how it's like $100 for them, like on average ish. And I was like, that's not that much. And she's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, I think it's way more in the United States. But apparently in the United States, you can get a hooker for $40 to $100 for like a street based transaction, which is way lower than I would have guessed. And 300 to 1500 for escorts in major cities, and then 500 for fancy hookers. And it's pretty close to what it costs in Thailand. Apparently, we got in Thailand, typical freelance is $14 to $86. So it's not that different. But there's more expensive ones, as you may imagine. But yeah, anyways, I don't know, kind of random, but that's what the hooker situation is. $40 seems cheap, dude. We got people selling themselves for $40. Like, yikes. Not good. Moving right along here. Well, I'll talk about this later, maybe kind of my own personal thing I wrote here. Feeling a little angsty about all the AI stuff and making me question what I'm doing and having to rethink stuff. But we'll get on here to what I'm watching. K-pop Demon Hunters. Again, this was sweet. I'll talk about it. But again, with the end times thing and the demons and the freaking portals and like the whole thing, I'm like, all this stuff is like amalgamating, right? It's like all this talk of the end times, and like you got Israel and you got these prophecies and you got Demon Hunter, freaking biggest show in the world right now is like Demon Hunters. I'm like, what? And it got some biblical references, and like it's kind of Bible-y or like whatever. So it's in the zeitgeist. It's really weird. But as far as the show goes, it was freaking dope. Like it was, man, I'm such a nerd, but apparently like I watch it for the I like K-pop. I like the show, but also I'm a animation nerd, so it's like I was seeing how they took the Spider-Verse ones, right, which had this like groundbreaking new revolutionary kind of animation style and visual style that they animated with. And then K-pop Demon Hunters kind of took that and like refined it in a way that's like a lot more palatable and like really cool. So the animation, the styling, just visually, it was so freaking dope. The fight scenes, and it's like set to music and stuff. So it was just cool. The aesthetic is freaking cool. The outfits are cool. It was super well done. Just overall, the plot is a little but overall it was just really cool, super emotional. I was feeling all these feelings, trying not to cry a little bit, having some feelings. And and the thing I will say though is that the main song from it, Golden, I think is pretty good, but all the other music I was like, I was like, man, for the biggest show, I was like, I feel like they could have maybe had a little more bangers, like with the music, like the main dude song and the main was just like, it wasn't like blowing me out of the water musically, but that's just my opinion. Here's what I will say. So the main song for this, called Golden, I heard before I watched the movie. So I heard it and I was like, boo. Then I heard it again and I thought, I'm feeling emotions. I was like, man, I don't really like it, but it's really emotional. I like feel these emotions of it. And I was like, whoa. And then I heard it again and I started to like it more. And it was just this weird thing where I'm like, I don't necessarily like the song, but it has a lot of emotion infused into it that was interesting. And I was just having an interesting listening experience with it where I'm like, I'm not used to feeling this way and experiencing a song this way. Then I watched the show. It's part of the reason I wanted to watch the show. And then once I get into the show and this song comes on in the context of the show, man, all those feelings and stuff made so much more sense in the context of the show. And I'm like, wow, they did a really good job of like bringing the idea of the plot and the different kind of conflicts and dynamics in the show into a song, and like putting that all into a song that really feels the way the story feels, the song feels that way. And so that was pretty cool. And I was like, nice, man, I'm feeling like good job. And it's just really well done, really cool, really well done. I enjoyed it. I would recommend it. Pretty cool. Excuse me, sorry. Okay, here we go. This is another thing that's got me a little destabilized that I'm watching. Network State Conference. This is a 9-hour ripper, but if you've been watching me, I've been considering going to this network school, Balaji Srinivasan's network school, and the network state is kind of like the overarching idea behind the school. It's in Singapore, and long story short, it's this idea that if you think about how things have gone since the rise of technology, like mail used to be physical mail and letters and scrolls, and now it's email, right? And music used to be on a record or like played live, and now it's an MP3. And all these things are getting digitized, and physical world things are becoming digital. And one of the kind of last frontiers with that is states, nation states, and countries, right? And so he has this idea called the network state, which is like a decentralized state. So imagine if America had like a province in China, and it had a province in Indonesia, and it had a province in South America, and you could go to America, but America's decentralized all over the place, and there's differences. It's kind of like the United States, how there's different states, but it's essentially an internet country, right? And it has all these cool properties, and he has these cool ideas for it. So this conference is kind of all about that, and the technology supporting that, and there's all these cool talks. And he has people there that are starting their own kind of startup societies and network states, where they're like, yo, we're gonna go to this city and get a bunch of people and kind of make our own. It's like a special economic zone, and they're doing startups, and they're kind of making their own communities, and they're decentralized, and it's just really cool. It's like so much future forward thinking shit in this. And they have a bunch of people talking about crypto. They have a bunch of people talking about their startup societies, new technologies. There's this one in it's not Ecuador. It's not El Salvador either. It's in Honduras, and it's this giant building, and it's full of biotech startups. And the amount of money that has come out of there and discoveries and shit is amazing. And it's this basically big building, and it's like a little city and community where there's all these biotech startups because of the regulations in Honduras. And it's just all this research, and they have labs in there, and it's like all these young people that are like on the cutting edge of shit, and they're just changing everything and making all these discoveries, and it's like freaking cool. And there's just tons of cool shit about that. So if you're interested in it, I would at least check out that. It was really, you get talks from like the CEO of Coinbase. You got Andrew Huberman on there. You got freaking talks from all these other kind of entrepreneurs and people. It's stacked. It's freaking dope. So all kinds of AI stuff, all kinds of cool stuff. So that was really cool. Let's keep going. Pete Hegseth, War Department. They've changed in the Department of Defense to the War Department. And I'm not going to lie. I watched this whole speech. It's about 45 minutes. I liked it. It got me fired up. And it's a weird feeling because I think war is bad. But we're going to watch a little clip of what this guy has to say here. And this made me go, yee, yee. Here we go.
It's a truth as old as time. And since waging war is so costly in blood and treasure, we owe our republic a military that will win any war we choose, or any war that is thrust upon us. Should our enemies choose foolishly to challenge us, they will be crushed by the violence, precision, and ferocity of the War Department. In other words, to our enemies, F-A-F-O.
Yeah. You know what that means? That means fuck around and find out, baby. And so, yeah, I watched that and I thought, this is dope. Dude's basically throwing out DEI. He's throwing out shitty standards. He's just being like, we're going to get back to ripping it, baby. Like, let's go. And, you know, I feel two ways about it because the U.S. military has done a lot of bad shit. And war is horrible. And you can look at it a couple different ways. But as an American, I think part of me is like, hell yeah. So low-key made me want to enlist a little bit. I'm not even going to lie. But it's interesting. I don't know how that's all going to go. But again, you can click the link in the description to see all this. If you want to watch it. Okay, what I'm reading, Ezekiel, baby. Not gonna lie, the repetition is getting to me, powering through at this point, because it's just a freaking again and again same thing. It's just never ending. But it's okay. We're gonna get through the whole Bible, so I'm just powering through. Okay, this is a bit rough. I'm gonna warn you now. What I'm listening to, Hardcore History Supernova in the East. I'm in the last episode. I've been talking about this for a few weeks, but I wanna share some of it with you. And this is just a little taste of what's going on. And I'll give you a little context. This is near the end of the war, where America's pretty much dominating Japan at this point. And ripping it. And so Japan is built different, right? And they basically won't be prisoners. So we're getting into where there's starting to be a ton of civilian casualties. We're bombing their cities. We're wrecking them. And this is what's happening in some of the stuff. This is eyewitness testimony from a Japanese person at the time. And again, I will warn you, this is pretty rough. So if you don't want to hear something terrible, I would not listen to this, but here we go.
But one of the most horrific things I've ever read in my life involves one of these caves where these civilians are holed up. The Japanese soldiers give them all a bunch of grenades to kill themselves, but there's not enough grenades, and a bunch of the ones that they get are duds. So they have to figure out a way, without any weapons, how they're all going to kill each other. And they're all related. These are family members. And just to make matters worse, by the way, as soon as the first grenades do go off and these people start committing suicide, Americans outside the cave think that they're being attacked, so they start shooting into the cave. So the civilians are caught between people blowing themselves up in one part of the cave and Americans shooting into the cave thinking that they're being attacked. The man's name, by the way, is Kinjo, who's having this memory. And he says that between the Americans shooting from one side and people blowing themselves up from the other, he was sort of in a state of shock. But then as his eyes clear, he notices a former official who had picked up a piece of wood and who had started bashing his wife and children with it, saying that the bizarre suicidal environment in that cave had obviously turned that man into a madman, that he would bash his own wife and children to death with a piece of wood. But then they all realize that they need something, if they don't have a grenade, to kill themselves and their loved ones with. And this is where it gets mind-boggling. I mean, can you imagine having to kill your family members? Can you imagine having to do it by hand? Can you imagine how hard it would be if they just sat there, told you they loved you, and then waited patiently for you to do it? Quoting from the account in Descent into Hell Now, quote, "Those people who had not been able to take their own lives with grenades were worried about being left alive. They had to find other ways to kill themselves. And the former ward chairman's behavior, the guy who bashed his family, had set the example. Some used scythes and razor blades to slash themselves, while others strangled themselves with lengths of rope. As the mayhem unfolded, they found all sorts of ways to kill, including bashing others to death with rocks and sticks. Men bashed their wives, and parents bashed their children. Young people killed the elderly, and the strong killed the weak. What they all felt in common was the belief that they were doing this out of love and compassion." End quote. Then Kinjo and his brother have to do the same thing to their family members. Quote, "Kinjo and his elder brother also had to fulfill their role. Everything that was happening around them made them understand that they had to carry out their duty as well. Kinjo said, quote, 'I think it was our mother we hit first,' end quote. As he and his brother began bashing her in the head, Kinjo screamed out until she became a blur through the tears flowing from his own eyes. For the first time in his life, he wept uncontrollably. Quote, 'I have never wailed like that since,' end quote." The account then says, quote, "The brothers used sticks to rain blow after blow on their mother. Watching her from behind as their pounding sent her step by step towards her death is still a vivid image in Kinjo's mind. However, it says he has no recollection of what he did to his sister and brother after that." End quote. Imagine finding yourself in a situation like that.
Yeah, so that's pretty rough. And sorry to put you through that. But here's the thing. It makes you really realize we don't got that much problems in America. Like, and it also makes you realize how horrible shit was. And like I said, this is just a little taste of like how bad shit was and how horrible shit was in that time and during the war. And you know, once the U.S. took over enough islands to be close to like mainland Japan and they started bombing Tokyo, I can't even freaking believe this. Okay, because you look at, I always compare this to what's happening in Gaza right now, which I always say it's freaking horrible. It shouldn't happen. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's like, dude, the United States firebombed Tokyo, and in 3 hours killed 100,000 people, basically by fire, mainly civilians, just in the city, in 3 hours, dude. So it's like, and they did that multiple times. And everyone's burning to death. And you can hear the testimonies in this. It's freaking insane, bro. And it's just, that's just like a little part of the war, right? And you think of the casualties in Gaza and you go, dude, it's been like 2 years. And I don't know what it's coming up on, maybe 100,000 now in like 2 years. But it's like, dude. And then not even to mention we're about to freaking nuke Japan, like in this podcast. So it's like, and dude, it's the savagery is just another level of savagery. It's just like you literally can't imagine it. And it's just, to me, I'm like, man, holy shit. Like, and so because the whole thing with Israel is weird, because Israel's sketchy to me and suspect. I'm not going to pretend like I don't think there's something weird about it, something off, in their intentions and what they're doing, but it's just like not novel at all. I mean, the circumstances of the fighting is novel, given the tunnels and Hamas and things like that, but it's like, dude, Japan would doing similar things to Hamas. Like, they say, oh, Hamas uses human shields and they want the population to die. Japan basically did too. They're sending their civilians to die. They're killing their own freaking civilians. What are they doing? Let them out. Let them go out. Like, they just like, it's like just crazy, dude. It's freaking bananas, and it's just horrible. And it's just like, man, if you think you're in America and you got problems, people are like, oh, freaking, whatever your problem is. A microaggression. Oh, it's like, bro, shut up. It's like, bro, shit is so good. You're like, oh, someone said something mean. Oh. It's just crazy. Just crazy, bro. It's just learn a little bit about history and you'll realize. At the end of the day, there's still stuff going on in the world that's just as bad as that. There's things that are happening that are just as bad as that. People suffering and these horrible things happening. I'm not saying it's not happening, but it really puts it in perspective for a lot of people, especially the loudest complainers online that are like, freaking Taylor Swift tickets are $1,000 or something. It's just like, bro, cut the hell up. It's crazy. I don't know. It's changing my worldview and how I look at the world in my life and everything. That's Hardcore History by Dan Carlin, Supernova in the East. Sorry for the rant. I know that's rough, but it's just crazy, dude. I've been listening to it every day while I work out, and I go, hey. Okay, we're going photo dump. Got some plastic surgery done, got some work done. What do you think? Okay. Here's our Numagram. So weird, dude. I just can't even begin to understand what it is or like how it works. It's such a trippy thing, but like people made this shit up. It's really weird. And it's just freaky. This is Yamamoto. Admiral Yamamoto. He's responsible for Pearl Harbor, and he's like a kind of a Navy mastermind type of guy. And it's interesting. It says in the pod that he came up with the idea for Pearl Harbor, and they said hell no, and he said fine, I quit. And then they said okay, fine, we'll do it, because he was that they needed him that much. So that's interesting. What a dude. Big L though. I mean, big dub for them on Pearl Harbor, but man, you learn the carnage that happened after, and you just go, holy shit, dude. It's really unbelievable, honestly. I just can't even do it. This is a book about me reading the Bible. Helping the retarded to know God. My brother sent me this. I'm like, dude, that is me, dude. That is literally my life for the past year, is this circumstance. The attempt. Pretty funny. But anyways, that's my whole update. I'll kind of end off by talking about this personal stuff here, where I'm just noticing like a growing discomfort and like uncertainty about my life, given like as AI's permeating everything. And I'm like, what am I doing? And I watched this network state conference like I was talking about, and I see these young people that are just doing amazing things, bro. Just so smart, building the coolest things, just on the edge of technology, just amazing success levels. And they're building these communities and these tools, and it's so cool. And I'm like, fuck, I don't feel like that. And that's partially why I want to go to the school, but it just it's kind of got me feeling kind of insecure. It's got me thinking like, why am I doing what I'm doing? Is it worth it? Is it gonna, even if I enjoy it, is it gonna be a feasible thing to be successful at, like in the next year or 2 or 3, or 5, whatever? And how do I want to navigate that? How do I want to navigate all these tools? And how am I thinking about my relationship to being online and media and sharing what I do? And it's just all getting a little confusing and blurry. And I think I just need to start writing a lot more. I know it helps a lot when I'm feeling this way to just start writing and like working through shit through writing. So I think I'm going to start doing that and posting more blog posts. Kind of back to how I started the blog in the first place. And that's what I'm thinking. So it's a little crazy, but anyways, that's it for this week. Thanks for watching. If you want to talk about any of this stuff, I have a booking link at the end of my post. You can just go in my click the link in my description. It's free to subscribe, and you get the updates in your inbox each week with this video and all this stuff. And you can book a video call with me if you want to discuss any of this stuff. If you have any thoughts, I'm a lonely guy, so if you want to just say hi, or if you want to talk about any of this, you can book a free video call with me to chat. And yeah, we'll see you next week, and thanks for watching. Peace.